Herbs are complementary to conventional medical treatments. It is important for all of us to remember to consult our doctors, get our tests done, and follow the medical treatments that we are given. It is important that we then use herbs to support what we have been given by our doctors.
Welcome to the Mira Facebook program, where today we are privileged to be discussing issues to do with the herbals with Miss Miriam Nyasha Kwari. Miss Miriam Nyasha Kwari became a herbalist by accident, but her story is very intriguing. Miss Kwari had a child who fell ill because of cancer when he was only 10 years old. The parents, Miss Kwari and her husband, went through a lot trying to get treatment for the child, but there is no cure for the type of cancer that the child had. She and the child spent 10 months in a hospital in the Avenues Clinic before they moved to India, where they tried other treatments there. In India, she bumped into somebody who gave a herbal that became a miracle cure for the ailment of her child. Now the child, Ryan Kwari, is 20. He is healthy. He's a healthy boy. He's pursuing studies at the university. He's going to pursue studies at the university. After health experts written him off because of the cancer that had afflicted him. So today we are joined by Miss Kwari, who is now on a campaign, serious campaign in Zimbabwe to help people hop on to herbs, which she says can be of a lot of help to health ailments. Miss Kwari, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Miss Kwari, can you just give us a brief background as to who you are?
I am a herbalist, trained in India, but like you said, it came in as a kind of a diversion from what I was doing originally, which was being in the classroom and university teaching. The reason why I went into it is because my son fell sick with cancer, leukemia, and we were in hospital, I always say 2 years, and in the end somebody introduced me to herbals, which in the end helped along with, I always say also, with what was going on with conventional treatment in hospital. And today we are parents who are celebrating good health that comes from herbals being part and parcel of what we consume as food, and it should be known to everybody that's what should be done, where we take herbs as part and parcel of what we eat every day, so that they are food and medicine. And that's the campaign that you rightly so say I am on.
Thank you. I know your message is let herbs become part and parcel of our meals. They must become part and parcel of our lives. Because as you said the other day in the church, it's like the Eden that God created for us. He created Eden with its vegetables, its herbs, so that people can benefit out of it. But today, before we move into the herb side, can you just briefly tell us the story of Ryan and how he survived the cancer, which you said is not curable?
It started off as a flu, and that was 2013. My son had been going through some episodes of the flu which would not end. And we would visit the doctor, get a lot of antibiotics, which would not help. One day, we just looked at him in the morning. We were about to go to work, and he had a swollen neck. Then we were told, in fact, my husband said to go and have him checked out. So in the afternoon, because then I was an exams officer, I had to be at work.
Wait, were you an exams officer?
Yes.
Okay, where were you an exams officer?
I was an exams officer at Hillcrest College and director of studies. So I had the keys to all the exams that were supposed to be going on in that particular day. And I had to rush to work first to make sure that I had given that responsibility to somebody else while I took my son to the hospital. So I took my son to hospital, and, well, let's say luckily, the doctor would always attend it to him for the flus, was not at work at that particular time, and that forced us to go to Mutare, you know Mutare, Murambi Garden Hospital. We went there, and there was a doctor physician who then looked at him and insisted that we got an X-ray done. On the X-ray result, we were told that, which came in immediately after he had asked for it, we were told that he had a tumor that was sitting in his chest, and it had to be operated on ASAP because it was the one that was causing the swelling, and it was blood that was constricted and would not go to the brain. So that found us on an ambulance straight off to Harare, and we got to Harare, went into hospital. Then 2 days down the line, after doing a lot of tests, they then operated on him, open surgery on the chest, and then they took out a tumor which was big. I can tell you it filled up, you know those 500 mils ice cream containers, it filled that one up. So when that was done, they then said to me more tests were being done. Some of the stuff that had come from his chest was taken to South Africa. That's when the result came, and we were told that it was a leukemia, lymphoblastic lymphoma, T-cell, which was very difficult to treat. And immediately, soon after the operation, then they said, well, he has to go into chemotherapy. So they started chemotherapy sessions, which were a big...
Which year was that?
This is 2013.
2013.
So they started chemotherapy, and we would be going through different sessions weekly, and then a break over another week, and we would stay in hospital because it was supposed to be persistently, continuously done. And we got to December, this happening, and he would fall very sick. Sometimes he would not be able to take in the treatments. They would wait a little while, and we had to stay in because the
Which hospital was this?
We were in Avenues Hospital, and they were working alongside.
Like you had a bit of money, you could afford to stay that long in a place like the Avenues.
Yes. It was a good thing that it was there. You know, these things are hard. So we continued until December, and in December, the doctor who was the child oncologist that particular time then said it was advisable that we looked for help elsewhere because this chemotherapy that they were doing here was not giving any good results. In fact, things were getting worse. So we then asked for help from that doctor, and we were given a few options. One was Germany, which we were told that they were doing laser treatment, and then there was South Africa, which was very expensive and beyond our pockets in terms of the treatment that they were doing, which I'm not too sure what it was, but it was also some form of chemotherapy and radiotherapy. And then there was India, of course. So we took the Indian option because at least it was within the reach of the family, because everybody had to come in and help.
By everybody, what do you mean?
I mean the relations, family from my side, from Mr. Kwari's side. His brothers, his sisters, and my family, my sisters, and my brothers as well. So we went to India, and January 1st, 2014, we were in hospital in India, a place called Medanta. And that's where we were told he was going to be going through a protocol for chemotherapy, and it was going to be high risk chemotherapy. That's what they call it there. And the reason why it's called high risk is because they're using more medications that are more complicated than the ones that are used locally here. And they were going to be more risky because it was going to be more medicines, like I said, and more dangerous, so to speak. But the good thing about it was they also had machines and inks and so on to check what was going on with the body. Went on it and continued to around
When did you
July.
go to India?
January 1st, 2014.
2014.
I remember New Year's Day came and we were already in India. So we started that, and then, I mean, towards mid-year, he went
You were
in.
still in India?
We were
For
in
how long
hospital.
were you in India?
It was almost a year again, because we're talking January 2014 to up to about September when he went into a coma. I think from what they then later told me, because when it happened, we were not sure what was going on. I was in the dark like any other parent would have been. I didn't have that background that I now
He
have.
went into a coma while he was on this high-risk treatment.
Yes. It started off with headaches, incessant headaches that would give him nightmares. He would not be able to sleep. He was not able to eat. I had, you know how you're always using douches as towels from cold water, trying to, it would not work. So on that particular fateful day, he had been complaining of the headache for so long. We were asking the staff at the hospital whether he could get something to try and relieve that, and they were not able to give him anything. The only thing that they could do was at least not putting through the session that was actually due for him to be going through. So they, that morning, I remember it was breakfast time, because I was supposed to be giving him breakfast. He just fell from the bed. And that was it. Called on the nurses to come in. They quickly came in, luckily. They put that thing in the mouth for him to not chew off his tongue. And they pulled his tongue
He was
back.
chewing off his tongue.
Yeah, obviously. Then they took him to intensive care, which was the 10th floor from the floor that we were in. Took him to intensive care, put a catheter on, you know, put him on oxygen, and he was gone quiet there. That was it. Sitting there for about 15, 20 days, nothing happening. They would come to me and advise me to rub under his feet to try and just make
So you would visit him in the intensive care?
They allowed me to sit with him. They allowed me to sit with him.
Nothing was happening?
Nothing. It was just waiting. And then while we were there, that's where...
You say nothing was happening. It means no improvement, no improvement, no sliding back.
Nothing.
It's
It's
just static.
lying there, and they're coming in, monitoring the oxygen, monitoring.
No longer giving him
No.
the high risk. That
No.
stopped.
They'd stopped everything. That's when somebody came in, and they were visiting. And this particular person, which is some information that I rarely share. The reason why they were visiting and were able to come into that place was because they are themselves a conventional doctor who decided to go more herbal to mix the herbs plus the conventional treatments. And I think on his own, he was actually also on a kind of campaign where you would say it's very good to have these things in the hospitals, but at the same time, it's also very important for us to fall back on nature because nature has most of the answers that we are looking for. So, vying for that, he would come in and now and again help as much as he can of any patients who were willing to have that kind of approach to treating or healing, trying to get healing out of the ailments that people go through. So luckily then, for me, that became a starting place for where we are today. Because then we were introduced to this thing called Graviola. Graviola is a fruit.
How did this guy approach you? How did you meet this guy?
Okay.
Yes. Did he come to you or you approached him? What happened?
It's like, how did I get to be sitting with you now? Right?
Okay.
I am a Catholic. I was talking in church. I was sharing my story in church. And out of that, you met me.
Okay.
In the same way, this person, medical doctor, cum herbalist, is coming into hospital, let's say, to see people because as Catholics, we visit the sick. It's
Are you saying he was a Catholic?
He is.
The doctor is also Catholic.
Yes.
You are Catholic,
I'm very
and I'm Catholic.
Yes.
Okay. There goes the circle.
It's a very small world, isn't it? So he is visiting the sick, which is normal when it comes to Catholicism. You visit the sick, you pray with them, and you talk to them because most of the time they're lonely. Remember, I'm in India. I'm with my son who's fallen sick, this disease that is debilitating. And at the same time, I'm alone because funds are not allowing for my husband and I to be together. Right? So this person comes in, and the best thing that you can do is, talk, because he's willing to listen to all my nonsense, my cries, my problems, and giving me an ear. Everybody else in the hospital are at work, and they will look at me now and again, yes, but they don't really have time to be listening to the emotional, side of things. So from there is where this relationship came through. Call it relationship because he's come in, he's prayed with me. He's come in, he's prayed over my son. He then introduces this thing over time. This is what I now do, and it's coming from the fact that I've seen so much that has gone wrong with people because we're not really falling back to nature to understand that there is healing in these things. And because I'm desperate, I'm like, why did you have to wait all these days to start talking about it? What is it? Then he says there's this thing called graviola. And graviola is a fruit, a tree that has roots, that has leaves, that has bark, that has flowers that are mixed at the end of the day with then other immune boosting herbal plants so that it becomes a tea or a powder that can help with eradication of bad cells that are in the system of the child. As a mother, you would have gotten to a point where anything that is going to save your son,
you would do.
Yes. We have sayings in Shona where you say you find anything, even dog's poo, you are able to just say, please give it to me as long as it makes my son. Yes. So that's the point where I was at, and this came in as a great relief. So I'm introduced to this little thing, but it doesn't come on to me first in a packet like it is now. Right? He brings it already mixed. Remember, I'm in hospital, and in hospitals these things are not really acceptable. So he gives it to me, and it's on a matchstick, and I have to put it in some water, just about 100 mils of water, and then I have to try and administer it through saline water. You know how you have those.
So he brings a matchstick.
Yes, and on that matchstick,
on the tip of
end,
there is graviola
mixed with honey. Gives it to me, and I put it in water so that it absorbs and starts, melting off in warm water, right? And now I have this drink, and I put it in a bottle. So that's a very
you put it into a bottle. What bottle was that?
Just a flask of water.
Okay.
This is a very funny part that you never really hear me talk about, but then there you go. Now you have it in a bottle and you want to administer it. But remember, this boy is still lying still, right? So there is a line, right, of saline water that's giving him food.
He's on a drip.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So in one of those ones is where the food was going. You know how we have people who are on no feeding, no oral in hospital. Yeah.
So he was at that stage.
So I keep stealing off syringes from the nurses when they are passing, because you can't ask for those ones. You're not a nurse. The doctor friend now is the one who's shown me how to go about this one. So I'm doing that stealingly and putting it in.
You pull out the water from your mixer that you've done, and then you. How do you administer it to the sun now?
Into the water.
Into the water.
Into the drip.
Into the drip. Okay.
Remember, it's not supposed to be something that is conventional. What I'm doing here is a desperate woman who's gone through stuff and wanting her son to be well. So I'm doing the most unconventional, unacceptable, unwanted, not allowed kind of thing. Story comes in when the boy starts moving. The doctors are coming in, my heart is pumping and going fast. Wow, it seems to be working. They're coming in, do I tell them?
How long did it take for?
1 week, it's happening. Second week into it, he is actually making movements, and they come in and they're saying he's able to breathe on his own. Right? I'm celebrating. Do I stop? No. Do I tell them what I'm doing? No, I don't. So the next thing you know, he's off those things, that machine. He doesn't know me anymore, but he is alive and is breathing on his own. He's crying so much. Most of the time he's asking for his dad. Mom and Dad did. Mom, I want my dad. But the dad is not there. He's out there in Mutare waiting to hear news. All I'm doing is sharing with him on the phone, this is what is going on. Right. Next thing you know, we are off the machines. We are going downstairs to the HDU high care unit.
What do the doctors say? The doctors who looking after him as these improvements come in bits and pieces.
They are thinking it is because they've stopped the chemo for now, and he's recovering from it, and they should not touch anything that relates to chemotherapy at the moment, so that he can fully recover.
So they completely abandoned the chemo.
For now, yes, they had. They'd stopped because they knew that it was because he had reacted, to quote them, to methotrexate, which they were using for chemotherapy. Anyway, so we are now in the high care unit.
So he's now removed from the intensive care unit. After how long?
He's been lying there 3 weeks, isn't it? We've started this. Now we are into the 5th, 6th week. Remember, it's now my story, right? We're going into high care unit. We are now in the high care unit. They keep monitoring what is going closely. They are doing the tests, and now they are revealing, we should not do chemotherapy for a while because the system seems to be recovering from it. Then we are moved back to the normal ward. They still are saying, let's wait to do chemotherapy. And I'm asking why. That's when the explanation comes. He had reacted to this which we were doing, and we think it's because he's still very young, and this could have been high amounts of the medicine that made him react the way he did. So for now, since the system is recuperating on its own while we have stopped, we want to give it time so that he can regain his strength, and then we can then move on to the next session, and depending on how much we've seen of the recovery. But in the meanwhile, we use ink and so much of all these other tests that they were doing to see how far the cancer has gone from the time we started chemotherapy. So they're doing that, and then they come in one day and they're like, his cancer is in remission. He's in what? He's in remission. And remember, I don't have the background I have then it was not there yet. So I'm asking what it means, and then they're telling me the cancer is disappearing.
Okay.
And that's when I am joyous. I keep referring back to the gentleman, this story. Obviously, he's visiting now and again, and then he's saying he needs me to buy the Graviola and to ensure that I keep giving my son. So do that.
And you buy it happily.
Not too much money there, but at least I get some. And some of it, because he's also very happy, he's given some of it to us as a family to keep using it. And that story ends with them coming in saying one day, this is months later, like 2-3 months later, they are saying to me, Mrs. Kwari, your son is in remission, which is a very good thing, amazing thing. And we are surprised how this is happening. And I'm saying, it's my God, obviously. And then the next thing is, we still need to do some more chemotherapy for about 8 months more, on top of what we've gone through already. So you need to be prepared to pay the hospital in order for this chemotherapy to carry on. And I'm like, we don't have money at the moment. We have to go back home, please, to try and make sure that we accumulate or put together some money, so that we can come in and do this. And they're saying, you can't get too much time. We will give you 3 weeks, because once you go back and you surpass that time, it means that he will go back and start being sick again, and we won't be able to, recover maybe the way he has. So you need to continue. And I said, okay. So we were given permission to fly back through a letter to allow us to leave the hospital to come back to Zimbabwe, and then we are on our way back to Zimbabwe.
And you then come back to Zimbabwe. What happens?
We get back to Zimbabwe, and we are now on. We're still on. He has got a port in his chest. Port, the one that they were using for chemotherapy, and it's one of a unique kind. They've never seen anything like that here. So the doctors would say, and I had to clean it using saline water. I had to clean
it. In what?
It's in his chest.
In his chest, inside.
Inside the chest.
So how do you clean if it was inside the chest?
You have this. Threads or pipes that are coming out.
Okay.
That they will use for, just like you have a drip. Let's say you have those lines that are coming out from there. One for water, one for blood, one for chemotherapy.
You went through a lot.
Well, my son went through a lot, I say. I always say that. I was watching, and I wonder how he was feeling. Maybe it's because he was young. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, so we come back, and he's still on these medications that he was supposed to be continuing taking from India, from the hospital. They were working in conjunction with doctors here, so they were supposed to be monitoring him while we were here, Harare and Mutare. And while they were monitoring like that, I then one day, I think a few months into it, into being around here, and me not having gone back to India, and I'm thinking those doctors in India must have been assuming that he was already not there anymore, isn't gone. So we went to a doctor in Mutare, and we said we needed to stop these ones because we could not afford them. And his question was why. I told him about this.
Some of the medication that you have brought with you from India. You wanted to stop that.
At first, I was scared to let them go on my own, but they were running out, and money was tight. There was no money. The only other option which made sense to continue in was the graviola and the food, as I had been told by this gentleman doctor. So we went back and we tried to get this. Replacements or top-ups for the medicines we had. We couldn't find them, and we had to continue on the Graviola. And I think it was a lucky thing that things were like that. And later on, we went in and we said it was giving him a lot of discomfort, the port that he had. And doctors in Harare would not take it out because they said they had never seen anything of its nature around here. So then we went to Mutare, and one doctor allowed us to get it removed. He actually helped. They removed it, he removed it, and that's when the port story ended. In the meanwhile, we continued on this one.
How were you now administering graviola without the drink?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Originally, all this was happening because he was not able to.
So soon after you started eating, you started through drinks.
We were having it as a drink. We were having it as a spice in food. Yeah. So we continued on that, and now and again we would go into hospital for tests, and the remission stories continued until one day one of them just said, "We don't see anything. For now, he looks okay."
When was that? When did you get to a point when somebody said they didn't see anything?
2014 year end.
What did they say was the way forward from there?
Go on and live your life happily and make sure that you get checks now and again. These are the doctors.
And when they said to you we didn't see anything, were you convinced that the cancer had disappeared? And if it is true that it disappeared, did you not have any problems thereafter in terms of the ailment?
Looking at him every day as a mom, I'm seeing a boy who is able to play, who's going to be with his friends, or doing his usual things at home, eating well, because that's the most important thing. Eating well, like everybody else is eating. Because prior to this, he's not able to eat, so to speak. That was the main thing. So now, in that particular time, he was now able to eat. He's able to go out there. He's not sleeping all the time. He's not weak. Then one day, like I had said before, he says he wants to go back to school. So we go to school to Hillcrest. He's not even in uniform. And the way he was greeted by his friends, the school, I think it was assembly time, they celebrated him as a school. And I think psychologically that also helped him realize that he was no longer that boy who left school when everybody was saying Ryan is not feeling well, but he's very welcome and everybody was missing him. So from that day going forward, he never missed school anymore, despite the fact that everybody else had had their exams done and they were now waiting to go for interviews for Form 1. So we could say there was a skip there where 2014 year and he joined his classes, now to go and play and be with his friends who had missed him so much, and 2015 he was now in class for Form 1. And you asked whether or not there was a time we went back or went into hospital. Amazingly, even up till now, we have not seen any door of the hospital. We've gone in now and again for, when you get like everybody else, the flu and so on, but it's rare with him. Maybe because he's also somebody who's now grown up and does a lot of exercises. He is very well conscious of what he's eating, takes his herbal teas every time, and well, that's life for us.
Ryan fell ill with cancer when he was just doing grade 6.
Yes.
How old is he now?
Now he's 20, going 21.
And what is he doing?
He's going to university.
He's going to university.
Yes.
So since Form 1, after these treatments, from what we believe is this herbal, he has not gone back to hospital.
Nope.
He's completely cured.
Yes.
He's healthy like anybody else.
As healthy as a fiddle. They say as good as a fiddle. Yes.
That's good.
Thank God for that.
You said at the beginning, in fact, me and you met in church when you gave your testimony as far as this herbal is concerned.
Yes.
You and that confirms that you are a Catholic.
Yes.
And not only a Catholic but a devout Catholic. Can you fuse your religious beliefs with what happened? Because in the church you were saying it was a miracle, it was that and that. And please just say how religion comes into this.
I said I feel blessed because many mothers have lost their children to different forms of cancer. But I think God made me go through this, not only me and my husband, to go through all of these things, and Ryan, for a reason, to remind us that God created nature with all the answers that we need for different ailments, be they big, be they small. The Garden of Eden did not disappear like we grew up thinking. It's still in and around us for a reason. The
Before you go into the Garden of Eden, you said there are not many, there are several points or several stages in the illness of Ryan where you saw God's hand at play. Can you just share with us some of those stages where, for example, you talked about now getting into bumping into a doctor who is Catholic but also a herbalist. You also talked about the incident at the airport. Can you just where you saw God's hand actually coming in?
Okay. I could go back to that one where I'm sitting, I'm desperate, I'm thinking this is the end. And then somebody comes in. You say walking angels? you know, like pilgrimage angels here on earth. In the Catholic Church, we believe there are angels who are walking among people dressed like us, but they've been sent to say something. Pilgrimage. And I think that gentleman is one of them, because he comes in at a point where I am just sitting there and waiting for nothing that I know. And he introduces me to this and things that happening, the changes that coming in, right? Put that aside. We are about to, you know, travel.
Meeting this angel,
Yeah.
this Dr. Angel.
Yeah.
How did you and him come to know that we are both Catholics?
Well, remember, he is coming into hospital to visit the sick, which is a Catholic culture thing that we do. In his visiting the sick, he's just passing, he's seen a patient who's next door. Now he's next where I am. And he's asking whether we can pray together for my son. People usually think, no. But there I am, I say yes, right? Because as a Catholic, you believe the best answer you can ever get is out of prayer, right? A Christian, generally. So he's doing that. And then he's doing in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. That's Catholic. And you are able to just identify with a person like that already, right? So that happens, the prayers come in, then you have the Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you, blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb, Jesus. Hail Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. So with that, it's all Catholic. So how did I identify with him? The prayers in themselves were enough to tell
Hail
me.
Mary.
Hail Mary. Number two, that happens, you get the medicines coming in. Let's call it the teas coming in. That's a miracle. I don't have much money on me, but here is somebody who's willing to extend their hand to give, so that we can try and see things will work, because he is believing ultimately, which my belief maybe levels were very low then, but he's believing in this thing, and he sells that idea to me through prayer, that there is something that is from nature. With prayer, God helps those who help themselves, and God created herbs for the service of men. Psalms 104. All those things are being said to me.
That's what Psalms
104.
What does it say?
God created herbs for the service of men. Right? He's teaching all this to me, and I'm thinking, wow.
Psalms, is it David who is speaking there?
The songs of
David.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So there we go. So you asked for these kind of small but big miraculous things happening. Then you come to a point where the doctors are now saying your son is in remission. We're not going to continue doing
before
this.
we get that, probably I would think the second miracle will be at the airport. Can you just go over what happened at the airport? When you were just about to be stopped from traveling.
So I'm carrying herbs with me in my bag. And it's partly out of ignorance and partly out of just, please God help me, because I've tried. Yeah. You get to the airport, you're supposed to travel now, and before you can, the passport is out there. The officer looks at it and he says, the visa has expired. You cannot travel. When you're in India and you're about to get out and your visa has expired, you have to go and get clearance from the police. And I don't have anybody, remember? I'm crying. My son is literally sobbing tears. Please allow me to go. I want to get out. Why would you keep me in? They are saying, no, you have to go and get this. And I'm bringing out the letter from the doctors. This is giving us a few days for us to travel. Can we please just go? No, you cannot. So they've closed their gates, and I'm sitting there weeping. This woman, long-haired, tall, comes in, and she's Indian. She sees me crying, Ryan is crying. That touches her. And she wants to know why. I explain because at least she understands English, so I realize. And in my explanations, she changes around and she's facing everybody out there in the, the counter. What happened? Why are you doing this? How many problems does a woman have to carry?
How many problems
does a woman have to carry? And I'm thinking, why would you not see that this boy is going through a lot of stress? She takes the passports, she stamps them, and there are these checks and balances that are done through these machines as you go through with the suitcases and so on. She takes the bags, she pulls them through, round off away from all those checks. She puts them on a trolley. She pulls me and my son through the other door, not through those gates, and to the trolley. In the meanwhile, there is that final onboard calling, Miriam Kwari, Ryan Kwari. You hear it all over the airport, despite how big it is. So we get onto that cart and we are driven literally to where the airplane is waiting. I've always said, you know how you have in the movies seen a scene where you have people are sitting there, they're about to fly, there's some form of delay because somebody has not been whatever, then they get onto the plane and everybody's like, yeah, because they already know the story that is going on with you. That's exactly what happened to my son. And for me, that was a miracle.
But you said in that miracle, you also said that it is not allowed to carry herbs through the airport.
Difficult.
And you nearly left behind the miracle herb.
Yeah, I would have left it. I think.
How did it happen that you managed to go through with the herbs? They were
now in the suitcase, obviously, and I didn't know whether or not that would be permitted. But I knew if probably they were saying it would be a problem. But at the same time, remember the lady has just pulled the suitcase and it's gone. It's checked in. It's on the plane now. And me and my son are going in. Now we are on the flight.
So you were lucky in that this lady comes through. She's an authority at the airport. She avoids the checking systems and then carries the bags, diverse from the checking systems and through. And it's a miracle. These things could have been stopped from taking them to Zimbabwe. Okay, thank you. Okay, then after that,
I am on a flight.
You are on a flight to Zimbabwe. We've talked about the miracles now in Zimbabwe. Now you are a herbalist.
Well, it just doesn't come. I go back later on for some training, and part of it is done online.
Can you tell us what inspired you to become a herbalist? When did you make this decision that now I'm going to campaign, I'm going to spread this word to my people, the Zimbabweans, about that herb?
I'm back, and my son is well. Remember, he's at school now at Hillcrest, and at the same time, before all this happened, I was director of studies at Hillcrest. I am helping with the exams, Cambridge and local exams. So I go back. Remember, this is now almost 2 years I've been away, and nobody would keep a vacant position. They would definitely put somebody else who's been working on my behalf in place, isn't it? So that's what happened. I get back. People are not able to communicate or associate with me because they don't know which level to put me. I was a boss once, and now I've come back. I'm just like lowly level. Inspirationally for me also, it was not workable because at the end of the day, those people I used to command to do things for me would not do that anymore. And the staff room things were different. So it was enough to make me feel like I didn't belong. That in itself. So it was one other reason, I think, behind my resignation, because I had to resign from the office. Another thing was this herb thing then started. for not having information, it was not possible for me to just go out there and say, oh, please use this if you're not feeling well. But I would clandestinely, now and again somebody has said, oh, I have a problem with my stomach. Because I'm reading through talking to this guy and for my own son's benefit. Because you need to remember, it's supposed to be food and medicine all the time. So I'm doing it for my son as much as I'm helping other people quietly. That's how it started. Then came in the training, which my husband would keep saying, do it online. Start doing it online. Start doing it online. It looks like you really like this. You know how I'm talking now, like energetically about it. So he would then encourage me to do that. And at the same time, then later on, I went in for a few months for training with this same doctor. He's now my shama or my guru, so they say, and he's introduced me to the school of herbalism and also to other herbalists from other places. Yeah.
So you actually went to India?
Yes.
And did the training?
Yes.
How long was the training?
6 months.
6 months. What was
But
involved
online,
in the training?
Online it's 3 years.
Okay. Online is 3 years.
Yeah.
What was involved in the training?
Herbs as medicine, plants as medicine, plants as food in terms of diet. Then there is training to do with reflexology.
Who takes you through those training programs?
University lecturers.
University lecturers?
Yes.
It happens at an institution?
Yes. It's university lecturers at an institution, at a college. And you get certification for it.
You get a certificate for that?
Yes.
And what certificate did you get? What's the name of the certificate?
Herbal medicines and healing. It's healing and herbal medicines. Then we have food and diet planning. It's like you go in and become a dietitian of sorts. Yeah.
We come back to, now we are a herbalist. Courtesy of the unfortunate illness of Ryan. Talk about the miracle herbal.
Graviola. Graviola comes from a tree. It's actually known as soursop, and some people call it guana bueno. That's in Brazil. And Graviola is the common name. For the Indians, it's used especially with other immune boosters like Sutherlandia, for instance. So you could have a good number of components put in depending on a person and what they require in terms of the synergies of the herbs. Graviola is, in this case, comes in the form of the fruit, the bark, the flowers, the root, and the seeds of that particular tree. The South American people, Brazilians as well, they eat it as a fruit, and they actually use it as medicine as well, apart from it as food. And for purposes of the cancers, it is an immune booster. In other words, it has a capacity to understand the human cell, the function of the human cells in the body. It kills off bad cells. It encourages good ones to work for you until they die off naturally. And then at the same time, it is very good for building the platelets, the white blood cells, where we find our antibodies. So in the end, when you talk about that, building up good cells, killing off the bad ones, and encouraging the white blood cells to grow and encourage your system, your immune system to be strong. That's when you talk of it as an immune booster. So that's how it's able to do selective treatment, so to speak, where if somebody has a cancer, it's the cells mostly that have gone wrong, and it kills off what is bad, keeping what is good, and then encouraging the antibodies to fight off infections and sustaining them so that your body is able to resist the pressure that comes with the disease.
Now, what's your recommendation to Zimbabweans about that particular herb?
The Graviola. I think everyone, whether sick or not sick, people should just have it as a tea. People should have it as a drink. Those who have access, because there are certain people who've claimed to have had access to the fruit itself, will go ahead and do it. But what I know is the structure and the component health supplement in it, which is found in what they grow in its original place, are not the same as you find locally. So you'll find there are certain people who've had it sold in terms of the leaves, ground, some of them plain as they are, dried, and they've not had the same results as this one. It's because these, let's say the Indians, have a way of doing it so that at the end of the day it carries that healing, that curative, that helpful food, medicine components.
What do you say to people who have cancer? What do you say to them about that?
I say, let's take on graviola. Let's all have it. There's no harm because it's food and medicine.
Okay.
Let's
you really encourage them to take
I do.
Now, having said that, now because you have said, we're saying that the herbs must be part and parcel of our diet. How do you how should people use this graviola in their diet?
Let's start with, God created the Garden of Eden with colorful food. There is the red, the green, and the yellow. All greens are meant for the immune system and blood circulation, right? To put oxygen. The chlorophyll adds oxygen to the blood, so you need it. That's when I illustrate it. I always say, you look at your hand, the nerves, the arteries, the arteries that you see on your hand. You can look at the cover leaf and you'll find they are there. The stem, and I always encourage women to not throw away the stems of vegetables, because if you look at them, most of them are whitish in color, and that represents the bones. Most of the nutrients we need for bones are found in those. And when you pluck it off its mother stem, the big one, you find it's similar to our backbone, where our marrow is made. And in that same coval structure, the plant, you find there's water in there. Who knows, it might be the marrow of that particular plant. So when you consume it, you're taking all that nutrient coming from the root, the soil, where we are also coming from, and giving you the nutrients you want. When you look at the reds, most of them are shaped like our internal big organs. You have your heart, you have your liver, you have your gallbladder, bladder, and so on. So if you look at the heart, for instance, and you take cayenne pepper, the millipede, you cut it out like that, not going to the back of it, and you open it, it will look like a grade 1 child has drawn a heart shape. And the reason why it's like that is because God created it for a reason, which is to help with the heart. So if you are somebody who's got palpitations, you can take cayenne, ground, or as is, a little bit, just a small tiny piece. You put it in a cup, add some hot water to it so that it can steam. Then you squeeze in some lemon for alkalinity, and you have it as a tea. And I promise you, if you've got palpitations, that's the end of it. You're having that as a tea, and it helps with circulation and blood thinness and thickness, viscosity of blood. You look at the yellows. All yellows are meant for the stomach and all issues to do with digestion. So the butternut is one big example. You look at it, it's the throat plus the stomach. You look at the pumpkins, the stomach. When you eat those yellow foods, they tend to help with calming down the high acid levels. People will come to me and say, oh my Kwari, I've got H. pylori, this bacteria the doctor told me about, oh, I've got a lot of stomach acid. I say, congratulations, you've got acid in your stomach, because hydrochloric acid helps with burning of food in the stomach. The minute you go on and you get those calmatives, usually over-the-counter ones, you tend to kill off that bacteria, which is supposed to help with digestion. And in the end, look at how many cancers we are having. So when you consume or eat the yellows, that's bambaira, for instance, it comes in the yellow. It is shaped like your intestines, your big colon. When you look at butternut, I've told you, you look at ginger, it's the stomach, it's the intestines. So those foods that are yellows, the yellows are created for the benefit of the stomach. One needs to know when and how how to eat them. So you're asking about how to incorporate graviola into that, and we're saying the minute you're having these foods and somebody plans a proper diet for you, and you're having it in food, a pinch, like a spice, you're having it in a cup of tea, you're having it as a drink at night, then you are encouraging your whole system to become fully looked after. Why? Because there is the herbal aspect of it.
So you are saying, therefore, that when I preparing some porridge, I can take a pinch of this, put into my porridge, or when I'm having my cup of tea, I can take a pinch.
Yes.
When I'm having my salsa with relish, take a pinch, put in that. That's how you.
So in the end, you're having a capsule.
Okay. So what quantities? Is there a
Specific quantity?
Or because there should be maximum and minimum. What's the maximum that I can have a day in terms of maybe grams or milligrams of that, or is it open?
It's not really open. In itself, it's very strong, graviola. And because it's very strong, we usually say, let's have it at night as we go to bed. When I was talking about a pinch is similar to a capsule. You know how you have a capsule and some water, right? So when you're having a pinch of any powder in water as a tea, it assimilates directly into your bloodstream and it does the work for healing that you're looking for. And in the same breath, when you look at graviola, which we're specifically talking about, you usually want to have it at night because it's a very strong tea that also helps with people with insomnia and so on for sleeping.
Now, then, can you briefly go through the other herbs that we have here? Say one after another, what it is, and how it can help people.
Okay. Graviola is an all-rounder herb that people will have as an immune booster, toner, cleanser, detox, right? And it doesn't matter whether you're sick or not. It's good for people with cancers and other debilitating diseases, right? Then we have a whole lot of others, but just as examples here, we have this which we call our gastrointestinal tea, and you can see it's yellow and representing the yellowness that I was talking about on plants that help with the stomach. So it's a tea that helps with gastrointestinal issues. And with these herbs, we usually say you want to have it alongside your graviola. Then we have this one, which is a hibiscus or rosella. We use it for blood pressure. It's a day tea. One leaf is used to make a cup, which is about 50 to about 100 mils for the day. And with all these teas, you always want to use lemon for purposes of alkalinity. Then we have diabetes, and diabetes has problems to so many people. It's a tea that is usually taken in the morning alongside a juice. And I didn't bring that juice with me, but anyway, alongside a juice, and you have it first thing in the morning with water. And then afterwards, you're also given a routine to follow for the food to eat. Then one example of women issues, most women have hormonal related issues. So we have teas that are meant for women, and one of them, that example I've brought here, is period pain tea, which they use when they are having their period and they have menstruation cramps. So that's the juice that goes with.
Right, now you have a campaign throughout Zimbabwe. How is your campaign structured? Are you just going out randomly? I saw you in the stage. Just briefly, how are you going about it?
I'm so grateful for you, for coming and introducing yourself to us. It's amazing. I think it's the coverage that I've needed, because remember, I'm doing this from a teaching point of view, and I've not had that exposure to what to do to make people know. So I'm thinking this is one of the first and the biggest thing that has ever happened, and I'm grateful because you go out there to look for people to do this. I am sincerely, honestly grateful, and I pray that it will do the work that it's supposed to do. But overall, I was just going out in schools, because that's the platform I've always been used to, talking to teachers. But you talk to them now, they do their own thing, they help their relatives, it's finished, it's done. So it has not had that much of an impact on the outside world. And I've also been just going to churches recently, trying to talk. I've done mostly the Catholic Church, and I'm looking still for opportunities for permission to talk in other churches. But we never know. And I'm thinking this has come in very handy. You know, God does things. So this is my next miracle.
What's your goal?
It's not about the money. It's about the knowledge. I need people to know that we need to fall back on nature, because nature is the pharmacy. It has the answers we're looking for. Conventional treatment is amazing, but do it alongside what God gave us. And if you don't know, don't just go out there and talk to anybody willy-nilly, because you get lost with the kind of advice that comes in. I'm not saying I'm the herbalist, but I am the herbalist. Try and find people who know what they're talking about, who explain things to you the way you also can identify with, and then use those things that are in nature, because they were created for purposes of healing. God did not mean for anybody to die in pain. When your body is in pain, it's a knock from God to tell you to take attention, make something out of it, and know what it is that you should eat in order to heal.
Okay. Miss Kwari, if people want to look for you for these herbs, how do they find you?
My number is 0773 378 571. I've got a clinic in Harare.
Can you repeat that again?
Yes. 0773 378 571, and a clinic in Harare in Maubra, and I go around as much as I can to visit and just talk generally. And then we have a Facebook page.
Where is the clinic? How can people get to your clinic physically?
I could give the address.
You can.
It's 6 Melrose Drive, Maubra. 6 Melrose Drive in Maubra, Harare. It's close to Maubra Police Station. And those who want to talk on Facebook, they can also do that. And those who want to communicate on WhatsApp, the 3871-571 number is on WhatsApp. I always have time, at least in the night, to talk, because most of the time during the day I'm helping as much as I can. So people might then say something and see I take long to respond. It's because I then later on, when I have my own time, sit down to do the responses as much as I can. And I then advise on what I think should be done where I can. Where I cannot, I always tell you I can't. And where I need tests done, because I believe in hospital lab tests. I always I'm going against people who do those herbal things where they go in, they get these funny tests done, and then they have these ideas that come up. It's so wrong, because you get to be very sick later on, and you then go and you get those lab tests done, and you've gone so far in the disease, no one can help you. So it's better to go to hospital, see a doctor, get tests done, insist with the doctor that you want to have tests done, and then we use those results to look for what we can use in nature to help each other. Yeah.
So how many different herbs do you have in your...
I have so much. Women issues, we have a whole bunch of them. Men issues, and men these days should know, men have issues, and issues to do with men, we have a whole section of that. Then we have children issues, and at the end of the day, that covers everybody. Yeah.
Okay. No, Miss Kwari, I really would want to thank you so much for coming along. If you have a last word for Zimbabweans, you can give it now, but allow me to thank you so much for being with us and for taking the time to be with us, and for being in the church. You can say whatever you want to say to Zimbabweans as a last parting shot.
Thank you so much. I first and foremost want to thank the Mirror for giving us this beautiful opportunity to make this world know that, and to acknowledge I think the most important thing is that you've acknowledged the fact that these things actually have some meaning and we all need to know about them. And that's a big on your part. So thank you very much. And then to the rest of Zimbabwe and the world, I want to say nature is the pharmacy. The answers are out there. Don't be skeptical. It actually works. We're not saying run away from conventional medicine, but let's make these things work together. That's first. And the second one is make your food your medicine. Every time you eat something, you're supposed to eat to heal and to feel. Let's have the feeling part as a secondary thing. Let's have the healing part, the first and foremost. So be conscious of what you eat, when you eat, how much you eat, and where you are eating.